Hey, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ruby, and today we're going to look at 5 standalone books. Well, 6, but 5 that I want to read before the year ends, because we are fast approaching the end of the year, which is crazy, but I really want to read these books. I've been excited for them, so hopefully I get to them. One thing that I realized is that I have so many books, especially series, that I want to read that I just have not gotten to. I think I counted like 10 when I was actually pulling books for this. So maybe in November we can visit all the series that I want to read. And in November my TBR is going to be different, because if you were here for last month's TBR video, I pulled from like the TBR cup. I chose some, but in November I think it's going to go a little different. Stay tuned. Anyway, so I did pull the 5 books. Let's get to them. So the first book that I'd like to read is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This book I bought a long time ago, and I had it on my shelf back home in Texas, and I never read it. And one day my little brother came over and he saw it and it caught his attention. So I purchased one for him, and he has since read it, and he said he liked it. He didn't love it, but he did enjoy it. And he is the only person in my life that I know in real life that reads and that I can talk to about books. So I would like to read it because my relationship with my brother is interesting. We are 14 years apart, but I think I'm just immature. So we like a lot of the same things. Like, I like anime. I like just a lot of things that he likes. But there is that age gap. So I have lived 14 years more than he has. So it's interesting because I never know how it's gonna go. Like, if we're both gonna love the same thing, or if we're both gonna like it, but I'm gonna feel a little differently than he does. And I love my brother. He's probably watching. Hi, Johnny. We're really close. So I want to read this so that we can talk about it. Addie is a girl who, in her desperate, like, she's in her desperation, let's just leave it at that. In her desperation, she makes a deal with someone named Luke, which we don't know what he is. But in the book, it says, never pray to the gods that answer after dark. So obviously he's nobody good. And she makes a deal with him. She ends up becoming essentially immortal and living for 300 years. Throughout those 300 years, everybody that she talks to forgets her name and who she is, like, immediately after they stop talking. So this obviously has led to a very lonely life, and he visits her annually every single year in the hopes that she's done and she'll give up her soul, which she obviously has not yet. One day she goes into this bookstore and she meets someone, has an interaction with him, and for some reason he doesn't forget her name. So color her intrigued. So I'm interested to see if I love this book, if I just like it like him. And I kind of love V.E. Schwab, which is funny because I've only read 1.5 of her books. And I say 1.5 because I read Vicious, which I liked. I think I gave Vicious 4 stars. And then I tried Gallant and I DNF'd it. So that's why I say 1.5. But I want to love her. So I have a lot of her books. I'm going to read this one. The next book that I want to read is The Afterlife of Holly Chase. This is definitely going to be a December read for me because it's kind of a Christmas book in the sense that it follows Ebenezer Scrooge's story. So it's kind of a reimagining. But I want to read you the little blurb. It's pretty short. It says, on Christmas Eve 5 years ago, Holly was visited by 3 ghosts who showed her how selfish and spoiled she'd become. They tried to convince her to mend her ways. She didn't. And then she died. Now she's stuck working for the top secret company, Project Scrooge, as the latest ghost of Christmas past. And then it has some more, but I think that's all I'm going to tell you in case you haven't read it. Although, like I said, a lot of these are pretty old books. 2017, maybe. But I really want to read it. I've heard a lot of people love this book, and I think it's going to be a really interesting take on this, especially because of that. Because I think she might be morally gray, or she clearly is not just a goody two shoes, because she literally was like, no, and then just died. So I think this is going to be a really fun read, and I'm excited. I'm excited, especially like I love December. I love Christmas time. I always like was a huge party planner for my family. So this is going to be a sad Christmas, a lonely Christmas without my family. As you can tell, or maybe you couldn't, but I am very, very, very close and attached to my family. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I'm going to read this and I hope I love it. The next book that I want to read is Piranesi by Susanna Clark. I have purposely stayed away from anything that has to do with this book because everybody that I have seen talk about this book says you should just go into it not knowing anything, which apparently is not hard because this is kind of one of those trippy books that you're just like in for the ride. Like you're just there to figure it out for yourself, to be confused, and to come out of it like mind blown, apparently. So yeah, I really don't know much about this, and I don't even want to know much, but for the sake of telling you something about the book, we can read the little first part. It says, Piranesi's house is no extraordinary building. Its rooms are infinite, its corridors endless. Its walls are lined with thousands upon thousands of statues, each one different from all the others. Within the labyrinth of halls, an ocean is imprisoned. Waves thunder up staircases. Rooms are flooded in an instant. But Piranesi is not afraid. He understands the tides as he understands the pattern of the labyrinth itself. He lives to explore the house, and explore the house he does. And it's kind of like a mystery-ish type book, I believe. I'm not sure. But again, most people love this book. At least everybody that I've seen talk about this loves it. It's won awards, apparently. A trippy, really fun ride. So I've been putting it off, and it's fairly short. I mean, it's a little book, and let's see, it's pretty too. The end papers are pretty. It's a little over 300 pages, so I think this will be a nice read, and I think I want to read this already, so maybe November, because it just seems so interesting. And like I said, I want to know if I'll love it so that I can recommend it to my brother. But yeah, Piranesi by Susanna Clark. Next up, I have a book that I want to read purely because I love the way it looks. This is definitely one of those circumstances that I judged the book by the cover, and the cover made me want to read this book. So it is Masters of Death by Olivia Blake. I had got Once for My Enemy by Olivia Blake, and it kind of has the same vibe where you have like a pretty basic cover, although I think this is beautiful, and I love the like minty greenish color with the like burgundy maroonish font. It's like a berry font. I love it. I think it's absolutely beautiful, and I really wish I had that special edition from who knows where it had the skulls here. It looks like it was like this skull but like on the edges, because it looked gorgeous, but I don't. The end papers of this book are gorgeous. I don't know if I featured it on a haul. I don't think I did, because I just bought this book and just didn't include it in anything. I just shelved it. But oh my goodness, I want to read this so badly. The fact that it's called Masters of Death, I don't know. I mean, I know this is about Viola. She is a struggling real estate agent, and she's also a vampire. And she's living in a house that is haunted by a ghost, obviously. It's haunted, and she knows that he will not leave until, or the ghost will not leave until she helps him or her figure out what happened. So she teams up with this other guy. What's his name? Fox Demora, and he's a medium, but he's a total fraud. And she teams up with him because even though he's a fraud, he is the godson of death, like actual literal death. So yeah, she teams up with him to figure out what happened and kind of help this ghost move on, so that he's not just in the house, or the ghost is not just in the house. And actually, I did talk to my brother about this book because I had to read this to him, this part. because it was just so trippy. Like, it says, this is the last little part of the blurb. When Viola seeks out Fox to help her with the ghost-infested mansion, he becomes inextricably involved in a quest that neither he nor Vi expects or wants. But with the help of an unruly poltergeist, a demonic personal trainer, a sharp-voiced angel, a love-stricken reaper, and a few mindfulness-practicing creatures, Vi and Fox soon discover that the difference between a mysterious lost love and an annoying dead body isn't nearly as distinct as they thought. So I just feel like this is going to be a really fun cast. I hope it is, at least, and a really fun time. We'll see. But again, this was just a situation where the cover just got me. And then the last book that I want to read, I actually don't own physically. It is The Sword of Kaigen by Elma Wang. I have been really interested in this book and I would love to own it physically. I have it on my Amazon wish list, but it is kind of like an epic fantasy book. I think it's like 600 some pages and I don't know much about it, but it's been described as having the like gruesomeness of the Poppy War with the magic of Avatar: The Last Airbender. And listen, that sounds fun. I think it's like elemental magic with war, and that just sounds like a fun time. I am afraid of the Poppy War, which I have it over here, and I haven't read it because of the gruesome like vibe of it, but this is a standalone, so I feel like if I can brave through the Sword of Kaigen and fall in love with it like so many people have, then I'll be brave enough to pick up the Poppy War. And I love R.F. Kuang, so I really want to love all her stuff. I follow her on Instagram and I just love her. So hopefully I love this book and I'll let you know. This one I do think I'll try and get to in November, even though it's a long book, but I'm just really interested in reading it, so I think I'll make it a priority. And the last book that I want to talk about, and the like honorable mention, is, well, the reason I'm calling it honorable mention is because it's technically not a standalone. It's part of a trilogy, but it's the only one out right now, so I feel like it's giving standalone vibes, so I'm going to include it, and that is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This book is about, honestly, this book sounds interesting to me. It's about, what's her name? Peyton. Peyton is an ordinary. In this world, there are people with powers that are called the elites, and then people that do not have powers called the ordinary. And she doesn't have powers, but she pretends that she does. And I think she tries to pass herself off as like a psychic. And I believe that she does that because when you're an ordinary, you're literally cast out of the kingdom, like banished to live elsewhere. So she pretends she's a psychic so she can be in the kingdom. And one day she unwillingly, or she did not do it on purpose, I don't think, saves one of the princes of this kingdom. And when that happens, she's literally thrown into these like trial types things. What are they called? The purging trials, which are a brutal competition showcasing the elite's powers. But our girl does not have any powers, so she's literally trying to fight for her life. Also, I think there's gonna be a romance. Pretty sure this is a romantasy. There's probably gonna be a romance with the prince. I'm not sure, but I've heard mixed stuff about this, but some people that I like watching have enjoyed it, so yeah. Mainly the reason I picked this up is because of Liv from Olivia Loves a Latte, or what's her channel called? I think that's what it's called. But she was reading it, and honestly I don't even know if she ended up liking it or not, but I wanted to give it a try. And it is kind of long. Does it not have any page numbers? Oh yeah, that was a peek of the second book. Oh, coming May 2024. So book 2 will come out in May. If you don't like to read like unfinished series or trilogies, then obviously this one's not for you, because it is most definitely unfinished and apparently has no page numbers. Oh, here it is. It's about 500 pages long, so a long one, but I definitely want to get to this before the end of it. Well, all of these. That was the point of the video, Ruby. Yeah, Powerless. And that is all, friends. So here is the stack of books that I'm hoping to get through before the end of the year. I think I can do it, especially if I put some of these into my TBR. But like I said, there's just so many books that I want to read, and I already actually have my November TBR ready to go. Like, I already know what I'm reading. So hopefully I can fit these in there, at least some of them, because I do want to read them. I mean, it's just 5. It's just 5, right? As always, if you enjoyed spending time with me today, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you Tuesday with a reading vlog. Next week is gonna be all about Halloween, all about spooky season. We're gonna be doing a little mini series called Monster Reads, where we read about monsters. Part 1's on Tuesday, part 2 Friday. I'll see you then. Bye.